In a shocking incident, a 4 to 5-year-old child was seriously injured after being attacked by a pack of stray dogs in Pune's Chakan. The attack, unfortunately, was captured on CCTV. It's now viral and it has raised concerns about the growing menace of stray dogs in the area. The incident occurred while the toddler was actually walking down a street. If you look at those visuals closely, in the footage, one dog is seen approaching and pushing the child, followed by another dog that directly attacks the toddler. And as the dogs began dragging the child, local residents intervened in time to save the child from what could have been a fatal outcome. Now, this disturbing event has reignited the debate over the rising number of stray dogs in Pune. Many are now calling for stricter measures to control the stray dog population in the city. And it's also one of the debates that has come across in different spurts of India. Authorities have urged parents, meanwhile, to be vigilant and supervise their children while they are outdoors. But children, usually from poor families or in rural areas, are being hunted and killed by homeless dogs. This is not a first. What is playing out on your screens? Unfortunately, this is a recurring issue. Both state and central governments appear unable to guarantee public safety from what has evidently become both a human rights issue and a public health crisis. Well, joining us to better understand the situation and for relevant solutions, we have with us Dr. Abhi Vanak, Director from the Center for Policy Design at the Ashoka Trust for Research in Ecology and the Environment. Thank you so much, sir, for making time for us. You have said that the main culprit behind this is the animal birth control rules that were first introduced in 2001 by the Ministry of Culture, and now they've been replaced by a fresh set of rules, which you have said are even more absurd. Why do you say so, sir, and what is it that the authorities, communities and individuals can do to approach such issues with sensitivity?
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show. It's very clear from this unfortunate video that you're playing that the problem of free-ranging dogs in urban and rural India is completely out of control. As you very rightly mentioned, this has become a public health, safety, a human rights issue. I do certainly blame the very, very poorly thought through unscientific policy that is in place, which are the animal birth control rules. Because these rules put dogs above any other animal in this country. They first they created this category called street dogs, and then the rules mandate that these dogs have to remain on the streets, and that the only thing you can do is sterilize them and vaccinate them and put them back on the streets. Now, according to the rules, even if the Pune Municipal Corporation people came and captured these dogs, all that would be required is for them to observe these dogs, keep them under observation for about 10 days, and if they find that they're not dangerous, they'll release them back here. Now, dogs that are kept in captivity in a cage are not going to come and attack you. They're going to be scared. So the most likely the PMC won't find anything with them, and they'll be back here again, and they'll probably be more aggressive because now they're scared. So the problem really is that we have created this situation where poor people continue to be suffering the brunt of attacks such as this because of a very poorly formulated unscientific policy.
So doesn't this also highlight the need for proper rehabilitation of free-ranging dogs and also measures to reduce their population through proper implementation of animal birth control programs?
Certainly, the first point that you raised is true. What we need to do is basically rethink our relationship with dogs. Dogs are domestic animals. They are not wild animals. They're not feral animals. I mean, they can go feral sometimes, but these are not feral animals. They are being maintained by human society. Yes. So it is upon us to ensure that their welfare and their well-being is taken care of. And as domestic animals, their welfare and well-being cannot be taken care of if they are on the street. So we need to change our policy. People should be encouraged to adopt dogs. People should be, municipal authorities should be encouraged to set up shelters so that dogs can be kept there. If people are interested, they can come and feed them there. Currently, the rules require them to be fed on the streets, or the rules encourage people to feed dogs in streets and in housing societies, and so on and so forth. The ABC policy that you spoke about is an unscientific one. It is basically unimplementable. the way it's, it sounds good in theory, but we've done some modeling exercises, and we find that it's simply impracticable. India has a population of about 80 million dogs. To effectively control the population of free-ranging dogs, you need to be sterilizing something like 90% of the population. And you have to do this indefinitely, because the moment you stop, then the remaining intact dogs from other areas will come in.
Absolutely.
Also, ABC only concentrated in urban areas. Nobody's doing anything in rural areas.
So, in what ways can animal welfare organizations then collaborate with authorities to develop some sort of effective outreach program for responsible pet ownership as well as responsible stray dog management?
The management of dogs on the streets is really the responsibility of the municipal authorities and the government. It is not the responsibility of animal welfare organizations. The animal welfare organizations can certainly play a role, and we don't need to reinvent wheels here. Policies that work everywhere else in the world can also work in India. We just need to implement them properly. See, everything then becomes a failure of implementation.
Right.
But if the law is so heavily loaded in favor of keeping dogs on the streets, then the municipal authorities themselves put their hands up saying, we can't do anything because this is what the law states. So we have to change the policy. We have to change the rules. By the way, the Supreme Court has said in its recent judgment that the law has to be followed, which includes municipal laws, local laws, all other laws, not just the ABC rules. So local authorities can go to their respective high courts and ask for a reinterpretation of the rules. The point you're making about animal welfare organizations, look, let them set up shelters. They do this everywhere else in the world. Let them set up, if they don't like the idea of humane euthanasia. See, some dogs may have to be put down. We can't get around it. We have far too large a population of dogs. You can do humane euthanasia. It is an accepted practice across the world. In fact, India is the only country in the world where even rabid dogs are not allowed to be euthanized. In fact, this is a prime example of the most inhumane kind of anti-welfare legislation that has become part of the ABC rules. So let's re-examine this whole thing. Let the authorities invite proper feedback from experts and from civil society at large, and deal with this issue. This cannot go on. This is not an isolated incident. In fact, I was just reading again, a 10-year-old child was killed by dogs near Hyderabad. Recently dogs were killed by wolves in UP near Bahraich, and those wolves were immediately caught. I mean, there was huge outrage. Those wolves were caught. Those wolves are not going to be released back in the wild. So how can you have a different policy for wild animals and one for domestic animals?
Absolutely
it doesn't
valid
work.
points you've made there, sir. And as you've said before, if the greatness of our nation and its moral progress is to be judged by how we treat our animals, then surely we should not be making the worst enemies of our best friends. Thank you so much, Dr. Vanak, for joining us on NDTV.